Thank you. Let's talk about it in more detail, should we? Ruth Gledhill, editor of Christian Today, is here with me. Mohammed Shafiq, Chief Executive of the Ramadhan Foundation, is joining us, as you can see. Hello to you both. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on Sky News this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Claire.
Good afternoon. Should we start with you first, while you're a little bit further away from us, Mohammed? Why is it an issue that this child was placed with a family of a different faith?
Well, I think what the issue here is the inflammatory rhetoric and hatred that has been whipped up by our newspapers over these past 24, 48 hours in an anti-Muslim agenda here. We know in just up the road from where I live in Oldham, we know of Muslim children who've been placed with practicing Christians. It's never been an issue. As long as those parents understand that the child that they're bringing up is aware of their own culture, their own faith, and celebrates their events and festivals, I think it is fine. This inflammatory commentary that we've seen over the past 24 hours will actually lead to less people, less Muslims wanting to be foster parents, because they know what happens when Muslims, become foster parents. A witch hunt is whipped up by the media, and I think it's irresponsible for those in the media to whip this up as an anti-Muslim thing, and that's really sad, because children will suffer.
Ruth?
I think it misses the point to shoot the messenger. Andrew Norfolk and The Times will have seen documents that we have no access to, so we don't know what's behind this. And we have to remember that this child was placed into foster care for good reasons. I don't think this is a Christian versus Muslim thing or Muslim versus Christian thing. And we have to remember that The Times was exemplary in its reporting of the Rochdale and the Rotherham child sex scandals. And Andrew Norfolk was an award-winning reporter for that.
Respect, what's that got to do?
I'm just defending The Times.
Muslim parents? No, absolutely not. You
defending
can't.
The Times objective reporting.
Okay, guys, listen, Mohammed, listen. You've had your say. Let's be civil about it. When Ruth's finished, we'll come back to you, Ruth.
And it's very distressing to read the reports of this girl being forced to remove her cross, or claiming that she was to her mother, and also being told that she couldn't eat her favourite food, spaghetti carbonara, because it had ham in it. And so I think that it's unlikely that The Times made those facts up. Those are probably facts that did actually happen. And that's why this is a story. It's not because it was a Christian girl placed with a Muslim family. As we know, many Muslim children are placed with Christian families, and one hopes that their religious and cultural rights are respected, as one would hope vice versa. And I'm sure that this Muslim family, which is a conservative Muslim family, well, two of them, did their best to respect this girl's rights and values as a Christian. I'm sure they did. And it's just possible that a mistake was made somewhere along the line by individuals, by the council, by anybody. We just don't know. We don't have the information to know. But I would plead, as you would plead, for understanding and compassion in this. So nobody wants to go around shooting the messenger, The Times, but likewise, we shouldn't go around attacking Muslims or Christians for this.
Mohammed, come back to you then. You've made several points there. Mohammed, go.
Kay, there's just that inflammatory language we've just seen, linking up the issue of child sexual exploitation and the Times coverage around that, and somehow this. Just open the Daily Mail, open the Sun newspaper, the inflammatory, negative approach to this issue. I agree with my colleague from the Christian community that if there are Muslim children placed with Christian families or Christian children placed with Muslim families, you've got to respect the upbringing of that child, their religious identity. But I have an issue with the Islamaphobic and anti-Muslim hatred, which is rampant. Even in this interview, instead of talking about fostering and care, the connotation that somehow the Times has the credibility when it comes to the issue of child sexual exploitation. I agree with that. I campaign for those victims of child sexual exploitation, but that's got absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with their anti-Muslim headline yesterday in the newspapers. So let's take a step back. Let's talk about these issues in a responsible way, but let's not inflame hatred towards the Muslim community, as we've seen, not just in the Times, but the Daily Mail and the Sun and a number of other blogs.
And likewise, let's not inflame hatred towards the press, which does a good job under very difficult circumstances. The Times is an exemplary newspaper, and it is not an anti-Muslim newspaper.
I've never said it's an anti-Muslim newspaper. I've written for the Times on many occasions. I think the headline itself is anti-Muslim and inflammatory. Is the Times newspaper an anti-Muslim newspaper? I don't think it is. But I'm just saying the media's got to be responsible. If you are trying to encourage more Muslim parents to become foster carers, and then they read the headlines that we've seen in the newspapers today, that somehow if they put themselves forward for this position, they will be shot down and they will be labelled an extremist, they will be vilified in some of the tabloids, then that will put people off, and I don't think it benefits children.
I wonder if we're missing the point here, guys. I wonder if we're wandering away from the point, which is the fact that this child is warm and safe, and potentially, Ruth, we're too quick to be insulted and offended.
Who's too quick to be insulted and offended? Sorry.
Society.
Well, I think that if this child was upset, which according to the reports, and we only have the reports to go by, she was, then I'm not saying society should be insulted and offended, but society should be concerned if there's a foster situation here that has not, for whatever reason, worked. But likewise, I don't think that the whole fostering system should be challenged because of one case where something has clearly gone wrong. And the Times and the media are not in charge of our fostering arrangements. Social services are in charge of fostering. There are regulatory bodies which are in charge of fostering. It completely misses the point, once again, in this issue, to blame the media. That's why I was defending the Times' record on reporting sensitive issues around this area.
Mohammed?
Well, I mean, look, I didn't realise that you were a defender of the Times newspaper and some of the tabloids. You've not read the Sun newspaper. You've not read what's been in the Daily Mail and some of the inflammatory language in which we've seen. Well, I mean, you've spent most of the interview. You've spent most of the interview defending the Times inflammatory headlines. I'm here to talk about the fact that ordinary Muslims in this country read those headlines and are deeply offended by that. Now, if you want to do a commentary piece about fostering and how we can encourage more parents to come forward, then that's absolutely great.
Which is what we're here to do, but you have just been attacking the Times.
Well, you've spent most of the interview
because I've been responding to your attack.
Islamaphobic
You were the
headlines.
First to speak. You attacked the Times.
Well, I'm sorry. With respect,
as a journalist, a Christian journalist,
defended. Well, and I'm here to defend the fact that the Muslim community feels that this is an inflammatory headline.
Have you done a
and the rise of
Mohammed,
anti-Muslim
this is my
media.
question
Well, I'm
to
sure
you,
you
if
can
I
do that.
may, Mohammed, and my question to you is this, that this little girl, this young girl, has been put with a Muslim family. She has been told, allegedly, that she can't eat certain foods because it is against the Muslim family's religion. Was she in the wrong place? Was she put with the wrong family?
Again, that's a decision for the local authorities to decide whether that is the case.
I'm interested in your opinion.
I haven't. Okay, my personal opinion, I think we should make every effort to put children within the context of whichever faith they follow. So if we can get more Muslim parents, to become foster parents so that less Muslim children are put with Christian families, then I think that's a good thing. But if the choice is between leaving a child in care and putting that child within a safe, homely environment, whether it's a Muslim or a Christian or a Jew or person of no faith, then I would actually go for that foster family, whatever their religious background.
That's a reasonable point, Ruth, surely.
I totally agree with him.
So this family is saying, no, because you're not eating carbonara,
totally
the little one's saying, because I can't have carbonara, I want to go somewhere else. She's warm and she's safe and she's being protected by a family that is prepared to do that for her.
And we have to remember that she was placed in foster care for a reason, and we have to respect that. And certainly there is a shortage of foster families, and in Tower Hamlets, Muslims outnumber Christians, so they maybe have more Muslim families than Christian ones who are prepared to foster. And so this family would have been a good foster family, is a good foster family, I'm sure it is. And the Tower Hamlets will be acting in the best interest of the child.
Final words from both of you. You, Mohammed, first of all, go.
Well, I just think that the inflammatory language that we see from some elements of our press needs to be called out, and that's what I've done in this interview, but also recognise that we've got to encourage more people to become foster parents, Muslims and Christians and people of no faith as well. And, let's focus on the children and how we can support them from a transition of care homes into foster parents.
Final word from you, Ruth.
I totally agree with that, and thank you for making that really exemplary point.
OK, thank you both very much indeed for joining us this afternoon. All friends in the end, weren't we? Now, Sky News.